Nagase, you do realize that those pits have a small amount of cyanide in them, right? We opened this week with Kaguri just kind of outright confronting Sume at school because, yeah, I guess even the antagonists of the show have to go to their classes. And really, it's not as though the princesses could do anything in the normal human world. After all, most people were unaware of the Alisphere, and those who knew about it preferred to keep it a secret. Thus, obviously, they couldn't get the cops involved, though they could inform Sergeant Duck and his troops, who were essentially the law enforcement of the Alisphere, but the princess wanted to resolve things peacefully without Sumie likely getting a lifetime ban from the app. With that in mind, they held a private meeting away in a secluded spot in the school with Nachi on lookout, which, to be fair, is one of the most intimidating images in this whole show. Through their little talk, we learned that Sumie had been aware of the secret identities from pretty much the very second each of them became a princess, and that the Kazuhana sisters were very much doing this by their own volition. Also, a nice touch that they included in this scene was this one hanging lamp that actually kind of looks like the decor of the White Queen's lair. It's an effective yet subtle way of hinting at where Sumie's loyalties lied, which of course didn't sit well with the princess, who, after their initial meeting all the way back in the first half of the series, did see her as an admirable senpai, but not so anymore. Overall, pretty cool scene, though I kind of wish they had asked more questions like what was she trying to accomplish for the White Queen, and what was her connection with the Red One. Yeah, I doubt that she would have given them much of an answer, but it would have been at least nice to try. Later, the princesses regroup for lunch. Wow, that's an interesting new way of eating your bento. I should try it. Actually hit my mouth a little there. Ow, 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 ow. Hilariously enough, Minamo was depressed for supposedly being too mean towards Sumie, ignoring the fact that she was essentially a dangerous terrorist to the Alisphere. Regardless, they are faced with a significant moral quandary on how to approach someone who deep down did seem like a genuinely good person, who they were unsure of what her exact motives were. And of course, this sort of very morally complex stuff confused Nagase, but fortunately someone with just as much OCD came in to help. By any chance, are you a fan of The Laughing Salesman? Because frankly, I think that revival anime was highly underrated. But yeah, they were joined by Nagase's classmate, Mine Moriboshi, aka Mabo. Her family ran a fireworks factory that she was hoping to one day inherit. She was so passionate about it that she even brought one of her own handiworks with her to school. Because I am sure there's a lot of people interested in seeing some empty fireworks shells, especially these guys in blue. Yeah, obviously, she couldn't launch her fireworks just anywhere in a country like Japan with all of its regulations and such. Now, the US, that's a different story. However, not willing to pay for an airplane ticket, Mabo figured that the Alisphere would be the next best thing, as they have even less regulations. Thus, she decided to launch her fireworks right after school, which would still be midday for the Alisphere, but apparently she had some midday fireworks, which yes, are a thing. They don't have the usual bright colors and effects, but still produce some colored smoke and noise making them good for stuff like sporting events and the like. And for Mabo, they could at least act as a good trial run for some of her real stuff. Hilariously enough, Nagase couldn't keep up with this pyromaniac Cure Lemonade, and yet somehow Kaguri was into it for reasons. Okay, I know I sometimes call her the Fire Princess, but Kaguri, could you not turn into this Fire Princess? Later, Nagase met up with Mabo one more time before going to the Alisphere, and they ended up inviting Mai Tanaka along, who, yeah, was I the only one who thought that they could be related or something? I mean, they're basically just palette swaps of each other. But no, they were just regular classmates, and Mai was unable to attend anyway. Funny enough, the Sobi twins also made appearances in this episode to give us an actual example of palette swap siblings. Said siblings, and Mabo herself, were going to see Hakase. She was helping them with their creations, as well as partaking in her own geeky obsessions. This show is an unhealthy obsession with Gendo Ikari, which is really any admiration for that deadbeat dad. Like seriously, she actually made one of those cosplay glasses that light up to give a character a dramatic thinking pose. though hers not only produced Gendo's signature orange light, but they also turned on when the wearer did the stupid pose. And yet, there are probably still going to be some hard to get batteries that I'm going to have to order off of Amazon. Also, I love how she not only had to wear them over her regular glasses, but we could even see her eyes were still wide open. Little touches like that just kind of add to the comedy for me. Anyway, she made a firework launcher for Mabo and said that her satisfaction was payment enough for her, which, yeah, I guess they really were making a laughing salesman joke earlier. I guess the only question now is, when is Hakase going to unleash some sort of divine punishment on Mabo for misusing her gift? Well, I guess Sumire already had that covered, as she picked up on Mabo's overflowing muse essence. Thus, she followed her to that one quarry from every tokusatsu ever. Better hurry up, because Toyotas need to do a lot of reshoots because they're a bunch of cowardly idiots. Anyway, Sumie also hinted that her main motive for doing all of this was heavily tied with Lily in some way. It would be our only hint for now, but at least it was something at this point. Anyway, she led an attack on Mabo, which Navier picked up on. Unfortunately, the princess had arrived too late, as a bishop managed to absorb the muse essence. Thus, since it was her friend, Nagase decided to take on Sumie one-on-one this week, with what I'm guessing is her favorite shard in Aiko's, both for being her waifu, and also the most flexible weapon in her arsenal. I could say better than modern Star Wars, but really that's just kind of a given these days. At the same time, Kangure and Minamo tried to fight the bishop, who they even know was a glass cannon, though this week his guns were loaded with fireworks that were hard to control and could even lead to some friendly fire when Sumire guarded one of his attacks that was going to hit Mabo. Yeah, obviously, they were really playing up the gray morality of this character, which would mean more if we could learn more about her motives, hopefully soon. In any case, this also gave Nagase an opening to take out the bishop and force Sumie to retreat. As a reward, she received her shard, but like all of us, was still left with a lot of questions. And I don't understand how your legs work. With that, the episode ended with the White Queen declaring that they needed to change things up a bit by perhaps sending out the other Flower Knight, much to Sumie's objections, as that was the sister that she seemed to be really obsessed over. This is a Nagase episode storyboarded by Nabashin. Of course it's gonna be a fun time. There were just a lot of good jokes here that I couldn't go through all of them in just one video. Sure, as I keep saying, I do wish that we could advance the White Queen plot a little more, but at least we got something this week. Another thing that I've really come to appreciate from this show is how the victims of the week aren't just total one-offs. Throughout the series, they've not only come back to interact with our main heroines, but episodes like this show that they can also interact with each other. Granted, Hakase is a pretty obvious choice, as her venting skills would be invaluable to most of the girls in the Alisphere. Still, at least she's a really fun character, especially when it comes to her geeky inventions like her Gendo glasses, which also makes me realize that Nabashin has to be a big Evangelion fan, considering he also storyboarded the previous episode that had some very blatant references to it. That said, as usual, his direction is great when it comes to comedy, but he can also do some dramatic stuff pretty well too. The talk between Sumire and the princess was nicely tense and gave some good hints at her alliance with the White Queen. Though as I keep saying, I also hope that we can keep getting some more actual concrete stuff about their motivations, but at least we did get a little more this week, with Sumire hinting at it being mostly for her sister rather than the queen. And overall, this is still a pretty fun Nagase episode that was appropriately chaotic and yet still also having a lot of heart. All things that really just kind of describe the princess who can casually digest a little cyanide. Thank you for watching, and if you're interested in some more pointless references to other shows, well, we can certainly provide that. We've got something coming out almost every day, and hopefully we will be able to produce some extra side projects soon. So look forward to whatever comes next, and until then though, farewell for now my friends, and of course we would have to end this way. I'm gonna get the hose.